Hello, and welcome back to TOPiAN Magazine for issue 3, Fire Escape with DJ. DJ and I have known each other since high school. Best way I could describe our relationship is he's like the brother I never had. We talk a lot about a lot of different things just because we hang out so often. But one thing that we talk about a lot is entrepreneurship and taking the fire escape, if you will, out of corporate America. So when I was thinking about this issue and thinking about, like who I wanted to feature for issue 3, anytime I think about who I want to feature for an issue, I try to think about what topic is has been heavily on my mind lately, like around the time that I'm dropping the magazine. And something that's been on my mind a lot lately has just been entrepreneurship. It's always on my mind, but really, really heavily been on my mind for the past few months. So whenever I think about entrepreneurship, the first person that comes to mind is DJ. Anybody that knows DJ knows that he's a very financially savvy person, very business savvy. He's always been like that. So I just felt like he was the best person to talk to about this. Because he has his own, business endeavors that he's diving into. But he also can relate to me on the level of, being in corporate America and operating within that framework while also having the desire to, escape out of corporate America. So, with that topic being on my mind a lot lately, I felt like DJ was the perfect person to have this discussion with. Our interview covers a lot of things. We cover a lot of his background and kind of how he got to where he is now. And then we eventually talk about his, escape plan and what he would like to do with his life after corporate. So it's a great discussion. Without further ado, this is Fire Escape with DJ.
What's up? How you doing?
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Excited.
So you're my third guest, and I found that this is like hard for me because I don't really do eye contact, and then I don't have a problem doing eye contact with people I know usually, but when I'm having this interview, it's like hard to do it. So whatever, we'll get more comfortable over it. But I see you literally every single day.
I know. Second home over here.
Right. So these are like the conversations we have anyway.
Exactly.
Just a little more formal. So for this issue, I wanted to call it Fire Escape because we're going to be talking about corporate America and what it looks like to try to leave that, which is a conversation we have all the time. So I just felt like you were the perfect guest for that, and you're like a brother to me. So we know each other very well. We have these conversations every day. So I feel like I wanted to allow the masses access to the gems. So why don't we start with just kind of you introducing yourself. You can touch on your upbringing, but really just your professional career, so like college to now. But
okay, perfect. Well, my name is DJ Boyce. From Pittsburgh. Finance major in college, so I always had a thing for math and numbers. Really, since I was in like elementary, middle school, I always had a fascination for math. As I started getting closer to college, I kind of had to, kind of fine tune that and figure out exactly what related to math I wanted to do. So I remember whenever I was looking at colleges, my mom had me do like this it's like this online like assessment to see like what major would best fit you, based off of like how you answered the questionnaire. And I did it, and financial accounting came up. So that was something that I automatically got into as soon as I got to college. But then once I got to college, they created the actual finance major. Okay. So then I was able to just strictly focus on finance, kind of have accounting as like a secondary practice, because accounting, I think we talked about this yesterday, like accounting was cool, but it was like it was like
very middle America.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't want to have that be my corporate America experience outside of college. So I focused more on finance. So with finance, I learned about international finance, financial arbitrage, options trading, personal finance, stuff like that. So that was really right up my alley, and it really brings a different type of experience to college whenever you're doing something that you're actually interested in.
So what drew you to accounting in the first place, though?
I think not really knowing, because when it comes to business, I'm like a nerd when it comes to business. Mm-hmm. I like to dive into business, how business operate, just everything that comes with business. So because I didn't really know exactly which lane I was going to go into when it came to business, I knew math was something that I liked. And, finance really wasn't something that was taught throughout school going up until high school. So I really didn't know that was an actual, major that I could go into. I know my mom, she went to college for finance, but in school that wasn't really something that was, taught a lot in school, right. Which is a shame. But, finances and stuff like that wasn't really taught. So accounting was something that I felt like, kind of was up the alley of math for me, because I'm real good with numbers. And then financial accounting was kind of the major that I settled on. But once I actually started to take some accounting classes, my senior year in high school, I kind of knew that wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I was already had that in mind, like, I'm gonna give this a shot when I get to college. If I don't like it, I'll figure out what I want to do next. But ended up walking into finance, and finance is like exactly up my alley, so it was perfect for me.
So I know this, but for the group, in college you lived in New York for an internship. You interned on Wall Street, correct?
Yeah, and that's a very interesting story how that came about. So that all started because I went to Bethany College, and part of the reason that I went to Bethany College was, one, because of basketball. They recruited me to play basketball there. But second, whenever I was taking my visits at the college, I kind of had in my mind that, basketball was going to be over for me pretty soon. At that time, I thought, I was just going to do this for the next 4 years. And then, I'm not going to go overseas to play basketball, or I'm not going to the NBA. So it's pretty much over with. But whenever I was picking my colleges, I visited Bethany, and through talking to the people in the business office, I learned that they had a really good finance program, accounting program, really just a great business program. And I was talking to some of the professors. I loved the conversations I had with them, and then I realized that they had a very strong hold in New York. And a lot of alumni were very successful in New York. So that piqued my interest, because New York was a place I wanted to move to since I was, I think, 7th grade. So that kind of was up my alley. So once I picked that college, playing basketball, going to school, basketball started to become like a job for me, to where like it wasn't really fun anymore. It was a lot of, doing extra stuff. And I'm the type of person, I like to do things that have value, that I can find value in. Right. And, doing 2-a-days, waking up at 7 a.m. to go work out, then go to class, get out of class, go to another practice, doing all of that for them not to pay for my school.
I was just about to say, and no NIL money. This
Yeah,
was back
exactly.
in the day.
They weren't paying. They weren't paying for my school. I was paying for my school. They weren't giving me any extra perks to be doing this.
They literally wanted you to do it for the love of the game. Like,
exactly. And there were a lot of people that did that, and respect to them. But me, I kind of knew, life was starting in 4 years, and I kind of got to figure out what I want to do before that, so that I'm not like a lot of these other people that get out of college and they're kind of lost a little bit, trying to figure out where their momentum's going to come from and stuff like that. So from there, before the first season of my freshman year even started, I quit the basketball team. Pretty hard decision, because I played basketball since I was like 5 years old. So it was hard to just, officially quit the game, but quit basketball. Ended up focusing up more on my academics, taking that more seriously, which I was before, but now that's my sole purpose. So started focusing on that, and then that led into me getting into a program. Well, before that, I went to New York because one of our alumni, he invited our business and economics club out to New York to network with his colleagues. And we went out there, met a lot of, very nice people, a lot of very influential people. And while I was out there, made a good impression on the bank that he was the CEO of. And when I got back to college, a lot of people from New York that I met were contacting me, trying to figure out what my grades were like, what I wanted to do.
Trying to recruit you, basically.
Yeah, really trying to recruit me for internships and stuff like that, which I was super blessed about, because I didn't think anything was going to come out of that meeting. So the fact that, I was able to actually go out there and something actually stuck, something I actually wanted to do stuck, I was very happy. So once they started hitting me up, I didn't hear much after a while, until probably, I think, about 2 months in. They reached out to me and told me about this program on Wall Street called SEO. And it's a program where it's a minority specific program where you get technical and professional training on Wall Street. They help you work on your resume, give you technical training to work in corporate America, more so the investment banks and the technology industry. And then they work on your resume so that you can submit your application to these big companies to get internships. And they have a direct pipeline with all of these companies. So it's like a incubator.
I was literally gonna say incubator.
It's one of them programs. So the people that I was in the program with, we ended up working at IBM, Amazon, Aetna.
So it's crazy because you were out there for 10 months, like basically a year.
Yeah, pretty much a year.
Like just living in the city of New York is so transformative for so many people. And I say all the time, I feel like in my life, I have to live in New York for some period of time. I'm not saying forever. I'm not saying for even a long amount of time, but like, I just feel like I have to develop personally. Like, I feel like I gotta live in New York.
Yeah.
Same thing with LA though. I feel like I also need to live in LA, or at least on the West Coast, somewhere where it's warm all the time. And that would honestly probably be my my end goal. But it's crazy because like, obviously me and you have been friends since we was in high school when we met. And I don't know, like we've had times where we were closer and then further apart, and now we're best friends.
Yeah.
But in college, I feel like we probably faded a little bit, but we always like stayed in touch. But I literally never knew you lived in New York. Like I don't think I ever knew that was a part of your story until we like reconnected, and I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Especially for like 10 months, like that's that's literally like a year.
Yeah, and for me being so young, like that was my first time actually like living away from home outside of college. And
you're in New York City.
Yeah, and that was my first time actually like having responsibilities, adult responsibilities, like having to pay for my rent, having to make sure I ate every day, making sure, I had everything I needed every day, on top of working and trying to chase my career and stuff like that. So that was something that made me grow up fast, especially given the fact that whenever I moved out there, I didn't have any money. I spent all my money to
Get out there, basically.
get out there, get me set up out there. I had to take a $500 loan from my mom's to get me until my first check with IBM, which was at that time probably 4 to 5 weeks out. So making $500 stretch for a handful of weeks in New York was very interesting.
Right. But I'll also say, I feel like back then, like when we was in college, like obviously we were in college like 2016 through like 2017, 2018. And I feel like money then, like obviously we're in a recession now, but money then was so different. I used to make like $30 stretch a month. How?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I was in a very small like college town,
Yeah.
but still, like nowadays in that same college town, $30.
Yeah.
You're not getting through a day. Like you're not
it-
getting through a day. If you gotta eat like no.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it costs like $100 to walk out the house.
Literally just to go outside, but also, I mean, back then obviously I had like a meal plan and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll say like your time in New York, like that probably gave you like a taste of adulthood.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would say, I mean, everybody says this about you. People who just meet you for the first time, like my cousin, for example, my cousin Laura. Like she always says, like you were so mature, like you do not come off like you're like our age, even though me and you were only a year apart.
Exactly.
And that's not to say that I'm immature, but she's just saying like if she would meet you for the first time, or a lot of people say if they would meet you for the first time, they never guess that you're 30. Like they guess that you're like 35, 40. Not because you look old, but just by how you carry yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that time in New York, I feel like it made a man out of you, like
For sure.
pretty quick. So after that, you go back to school, you graduate, and then, if I'm not mistaken, your first job out of school is in Ohio.
Yeah, so right before I graduated, actually, because I was on track to, so me graduating, it was going to be a semester behind whenever I was actually supposed to graduate, but a semester in front of everybody else in my class graduating. So around whenever I was still in school, I was looking at places to, work at coming out of college. Probably filled out about 50 applications. That time was a very humbling time for me because I thought all of the work I put in college, building up my resume, getting this experience that, a large percentage of kids my age do not have. I thought that I was putting myself in prime position to get hired coming out of college. And,
like you were guaranteed.
Yeah, and it wasn't about to be a wait around, fill out all these applications, go on all of these pointless interviews for nothing. But that's exactly what it was. And
I would actually, sorry, not to interrupt you, I would actually argue that the only people, that's like what's seen as the American dream. But I feel like the only people that actually get that, like, oh, I have offers before I even come out of school is like Ivy League kids. Like, who are like literally headhunted from college, like kids that go to MIT and fucking like Harvard and shit. Anyways,
and I mean, I technically, whenever I was working at IBM, I was convinced that that was where I was going to be at full time. The people I was in a program with, they were all from like your Harvards, Yales, Georgetowns, NYU's, all of the Columbia's, all of the big, prestigious schools. And I was just from Little Bethany College in West Virginia. Right. So whenever I was there, I ended up turning into someone that, they went to for advice, and someone that was kind of ahead of that pack. And really, personally, that really did a lot of good for me because it gave me the confidence to say, I can do this with anybody. Don't matter what college they went to or college I went to, I'm just as capable, even more capable than they are. Right. So whenever I left there and I'm trying to, fill out applications, that kind of brought me back down a little bit because I was like, damn, like I'm filling out all these applications. I'm not getting any, real offers. I thought I was going to get an offer from IBM full time after being there for a year. They didn't. But then an opportunity came because alumni of my school, he was a CFO at this risk management firm in Ohio. And risk management has a lot of finance aspects to it. Right. So it it was an easier transition than some of the other jobs I was applying for.
Okay.
So whenever I got that risk management job, I didn't even walk across the stage yet to graduate.
Oh, great.
So I moved out there to Ohio. Was working there for about 5 to 6 months full time. Then had to go back to school to walk across the stage to get my diploma. And
That's
then,
crazy. Like, you
yeah.
didn't even have, like, a college degree, technically.
No, I had my credits. I just didn't have the degree. So they allowed me to work full time without the actual degree because I had all my credits.
Right.
So I was had my own place out in Ohio, job and everything. So whenever it was time to walk across the stage, I came back, walked across the stage, and then from there it was, back to the life after college. Now I'm in corporate America, which I have a lot of grace for people that are jumping into the workforce coming out of college, because it's a thing where you kind of gotta see the bigger picture whenever you're that young coming out of college in corporate America, especially when you jump into fast-paced corporate America roles.
Right.
Because the work that you're doing never really matches the money that you're getting.
Never.
You kind of got to balance that with trying to survive as a grown adult, especially when you got student loans and stuff coming in. And it's a time where, like I said, I have a lot of grace for people. It's not an easy time, but if you're able to kind of, keep the bigger picture, you'll get through. You'll get through it. You just got to keep working. You got to keep, making every day intentional, right, so that you can get to where you want to get to. And then, and when you're in a position where you're putting in the work and you're actually, creating value, you need to make sure people know that. And, you got to make sure that they're aware of that at all times, because, in corporate America, nobody's going to be your cheerleader except for yourself.
Right, exactly.
So you just got to make sure that you're always, talking about your accomplishments in the workplace.
Right. Yeah, I think that corporate America is such a struggle, which we'll really get to the, like, I hate to sound corny, but the meat and the potatoes of the conversation later. But like you said, it's a place where the work you're putting in never matches what you're getting paid. Never. And it's hard to balance that. It's hard to balance, like, your pay, your ability to put food on the table, with your natural drive to excel. Mm-hmm. And then also with protection of yourself and trying to protect your own peace and being like, damn, I don't need to overextend myself because I'm not getting it back on the back end. Like, I'm not getting properly, like, paid for it.
And it also takes years to find that balance.
And it takes years to even realize that that's a thing.
Exactly.
When you come out of undergrad, I feel like you're so ambitious. You're so hungry. Like, I'll do anything. They can pay me $1. I just need a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you come to realize, like, I feel like it's very much towards the end of your 20s, coming into your 30s, or at least that was my experience, where it kind of took me until my mid to late 20s to realize, like, nah, like, you kind of just see through the bullshit of corporate, because they will definitely sell you a dream. They will definitely sell you a dream.
Exactly.
So you worked there, and then you left, and now you're back working here full time in a similar role.
And the reason why I left that company is kind of what we just talked about. So at that time, COVID just hit. When COVID hit, kind of just giving some background on how the business is structured. The structure is like, with the big cases, you'll have about 4 people on it.
And you started where, for reference?
I started as an analyst.
So you started at the bottom?
At the bottom. So during COVID, my team, it started with my vice president. He left the company. Then my manager left the company. Then it's
literally just the Grim Reaper, like, opening every door until it gets to
Exactly. And then the guy that I was working with that turned into my interim manager, he ended up leaving the company. So now it's just me I had about 4 clients at the time. They're all, 600 million to $1 billion companies that I'm pretty much doing vice president work on, because there's nobody on my team. Everybody left, and the people that they even try to backfill as like the interim vice president, I still got to bring him up to speed while still doing the everyday work. So
they should have just promoted you to VP and then brought people up underneath you.
So that's where at a certain point I started going to them and saying, hey, like, I'm able to do this work. I don't mind doing this work, but my title is an analyst, and I'm only being paid as an analyst.
Right.
And I'm the type of person, I'm gonna speak on what I want, what I need, especially whenever I have the work to back it up. So the company wasn't a big company. So I spoke to all of the area vice presidents. I spoke to the CFO. I spoke to the general counsel, and I had a brief conversation with the CEO all about this. And all of them, I felt like they were giving me the runaround. They act like they heard me loud and clear, but they were still like kind of slow to move their feet on, doing anything about it.
Right.
So that kind of put me in like a little bit of in a lost state. I won't say a depressive state, because I was working from home because of COVID. So that was something that I was very happy about. But after a while, it started to really eat away at me. And
especially being out there and you don't got no peoples out there.
Yeah, and living in Ohio, I didn't like Ohio at all. So it was a definitely
fuck Ohio. We don't fuck with Ohio.
Right, and that definitely turned into like a one of the dark times in my life, because it was just like I just felt real stuck. I wasn't really happy with anything in my life at the time, and whenever you're not happy with work, it just feels like you're not happy with shit in life. So definitely had a couple breakdowns out there, but what I do whenever I'm in those situations is I don't like to start to feel sorry for myself or sit back and like just just let the hard times rumble. I gotta put some action behind this. I gotta do something about it. If there's a will, there's a way. There's 1,000 ways to do something. So what I did was I contacted my old vice president of my college. We had a dinner meeting at the Duquesne Country Club downtown, because he's a member. We went out there. We had a real good conversation. I kind of told him the situation at my job. He knew the CFO of that company because he was an alumni of that school, and they went to school together, so he knew who that was. And I was kind of telling him what I wanted to do next in my career, where I wanted to be at, what I've done so far to try to get out of that situation and get into a new situation. An alumni of my school was the general counsel at a very large bank. And what a general counsel is like pretty much the second in command to the CEO. So it's a pretty high position. And he ended up meeting up with him. I mentioned my name and got us a meeting scheduled. So, once he told me that, we had a meeting scheduled, I got on his calendar. This was kind of, to this point, kind of the most momentum that I've had since the New York stuff. So, kind of was getting the energy back. Ended up meeting with the general counsel at that bank. And while I'm talking to him, the CEO of the bank walks in the middle of our Zoom meeting. And he walks
into his screen?
He walks into his office.
Oh, okay.
And I guess he's giving him like keys to a Porsche or something like that. I guess
what?
They're having like very like casual conversation, but he doesn't know that he's on a call right now.
Oh my God!
He's
yeah, thanks for letting me borrow your Lambo.
it was some of that conversation. Like I guess he was giving him I don't know why he was giving him the keys to a Porsche, but he came in having a real casual conversation, gave him the keys to this Porsche, and the general counsel introduced me to the CEO. Introduced myself. The general counsel spoke very highly of me because the general counsel was a friend of the guy that got me my internship on Wall Street.
Right.
And because I did so well on Wall Street, that kind of gave me a good face card and reputation with these type of guys. So the fact that I was, a friend of that guy that got me that, internship on Wall Street, it was like I was a part of that circle. So
and that's just like just him walking into his like that literally was divine intervention.
Exactly. So so then that turned into me talking to the general counsel and the CEO about, you know, what I wanted to do. So as a result of that conversation, they got me a very high position at that bank in a week. So,
in a week?
Yeah, so fast that, you know, HR had to reach out to me separately and say, hey, can you just fill out the application so we can have you on the records, because
like, we'll make a position for this motherfucker.
Yeah, because we offered you and you accepted so fast, we didn't even have a chance to write up the offer letter. So, you know, once that happened, I was ecstatic. It was like a breath of fresh air. Really, even that whole time in my life, whenever I got that job, was like a turning point for me. At that time, I was able to move back to Pittsburgh. I got a new place back here in Pittsburgh. At the same time, I got a new place. Got a brand new car, fresh off the lot. At the same time, I quit my old job that, you know, I was dying to leave. Got a new job at a bigger company, making way more money. All in that same week, I left to go to Jamaica for a week.
It's just like you on your hands and knees, like, thank you. Like,
everything happened, and then while I'm in Jamaica, I got paid from both jobs.
Oh yeah,
So it was like that point. It felt like, you know, fresh air was breathed into you know, my life, and I really appreciated it. And you know, then I started, you know, my journey with that bank, and it was at first it started out good, but you know, I'll say probably about 7 months into working there, I learned a very valuable lesson about corporate America and companies that big. And it was a lesson that, like, you know, sticks with me to this day, and you could say kind of gave me PTSD, but, you know, I think I went through that so I can learn how to move better within corporate America.
Right.
But I've been there ever since, and you know, corporate America is something that provides a lot of stability and comfort, but I kind of know what's up with corporate America, and you know what your end goal should be if you want it to be that. You know, some people are cool with being in corporate America for, you know, 40, 50 years and retiring there, and that's perfectly fine. But you know, for someone that wants ownership and wants to, you know, kind of carve out their own path so that, you know, generations that come after them can, you know, kind of not only have it easier, but be more equipped to take it even further than I did. You know, that's you know, you kind of gotta, you know, move correctly in those areas.
Right. I think corporate America is built like or it's like that by design. I think you know, it's something that you strive for growing up, because, you know, we grew up like any other millennials. I feel like it's like, you know, your parents teach you like school, job, and then you're set for life.
Right.
But not only is it way harder, there's a lot of stipulations that come with those jobs, and I'm kind of like,
it's not guaranteed either.
No, it's not. And I'm kind of like you, where I experienced two different corporate Americas. Like, one was a non-profit, but it wasn't like a non-profit. It was like government. It was weird, but technically they were a non-profit for book purposes. But I would consider that still corporate America, and I was at a way smaller scale, and now I'm at a way bigger corporate America, and they're just two sides of a very evil coin. So now you are you know, back here, you've been at your current position for a while. But where would you say you are, like, both personally and professionally in your life? And that could be mentally, it could be like literally, like.
I'll start with professionally. Professionally, I'm at a point now where, you know, with my corporate America job, I've been able to find some stability, kind of find my groove within corporate America. So I won't say it's on autopilot, but I have more control, I'll say, within my corporate America role. So now I'm kind of focusing on, you know, starting my own businesses, because I have the time to now, and, you know, I kind of know my path a little bit more in terms of the companies I want to start. So I'll say from a personal level, I think I'm at a place where, you know, I'm very happy with my surroundings. You know, everyone in my life is someone that, you know, I hold near and dear to my life. There's not any people, you know, I have to question their intentions, question why they're around, and I really appreciate that. It makes, you know, it makes life less stressful when you know you have people in your life that provide that, you know, relief,
Right.
and it's genuine. And I really appreciate that. You know, my family, they're all doing good. So, you know, personally, I'm at a very great space where, you know, I'm able to, you know, give my effort to things that I want to do in my life with a healthy mindset. It's not coming from a place of survival, a place of depression, and that's really important whenever you are trying to upgrade your life, make strides in your life. It's always good to operate from a healthy mindset. And I think, you know, there's been a lot of times in life where, you know, I was operating from not so much of a healthy mindset, and, you know, I was able to get through those times, but those times were also a lot harder and darker because I'm not operating from that healthy mindset. So it didn't make the process enjoyable. I think now, you know, I fall in love with all types of process when it comes to self-development because I'm happy personally,
Right.
you know, and I'm able to, you know, give everything my clear, healthy mind to thinking, and that really is a underrated thing, especially for people, because a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't even know what that feels like.
Right.
They don't know how to operate from a healthy mindset, and
A lot of people are in survival mode
Exactly,
for
and
a large part of their lives.
and they don't really know what it feels like to wake up and authentically believe in yourself and believe that, you know, the things that you dream of and the things that you know, envision yourself being, those are all within arm's reach.
Exactly.
So, you know, I really feel blessed that, you know, I have that type of mindset and outlook to where, you know, it's kind of like, you know, game on every time I wake up, and it's like, you know, how we going to get closer to what I want to do.
Right. Well, I also think that a large part of a lot of people operating out of survival mode is financial stability. And sadly, you know, as much as we hate corporate America, that's why I see it as such a trap. Like, it provides this stability for you, and like it's hard to leave that. And it's also like a lot, but even within corporate America, just because of like inflation and the recession and everything, like a lot of people are in survival mode in corporate America, and they can't really afford to leave. So, you know, it's hard to be in a good, a healthy mindset whenever you're in survival mode as a result of finances specifically. So yeah, but what about? Oh, I was gonna say, how much of an impact does being out of survival mode and being in a healthy mindset have on your like drive to like pursue your dreams? Like, do you think that those things go hand in hand? Basically?
Yeah, they go hand in hand 1,000%. I pretty much feel like you can't have one without the other. You know, you gotta, in order for you to actually chase your dreams, it comes with, no matter what, you can be the most talented person in the world, but just like in sports, you know, greatness comes with consistency, and greatness comes with you know, being able to, you know, wake up every day and do your best to put your best foot forward, and consistently do it, because, you know, perfection comes from consistency. You know, success comes from consistency, and I think you know, those two things are so important, because, you know, you gotta be able to wake up every day whenever you don't want to do some shit, whenever you're not in the mood to do some shit, whenever everything else in your life seems to be going wrong or not going the way you want it to. You gotta be able to have enough discipline and enough foresight to wake up every day and be like, if this is what I want, I gotta consistently do this. Even on my worst days, because, you know, anybody can put 100% into something on their good days whenever they're you know, in a good mind space. But, you know, life, you know, takes its swings, and those swings be connecting sometimes.
I swear.
And it's like, you know, you gonna get hit with them days where, you know, it's just, you know, you depressed, stuff ain't been going your way, you don't like where you're at in life. But I think for me, the thing that allows me to wake up every day is that the fact that I'm able to at any day kind of change the trajectory of my life and my current state of my life off of, you know, the work I put in God. And I think just having that hope that, you know, your work and, you know, what God has set for you can you know, be reflected any day at any time, especially when you're consistent. You know, that's what, you know, allows me to get up even on days I don't want to, and, you know, just do my best, because that's all we really can do.
Right. I think there's a lot of parallels between. That's why people be saying like a gym routine is so like.
Creates that discipline.
Yeah, it literally is. There's such a parallel between that and like just success in any endeavor in your life. So, kind of switching gears here. You know, corporate America puts a lot of pressure. I mean, you know that I be stressed out a lot, just in general. But you know, corporate America puts a lot of pressure on you. Kind of back to what you were saying about like the work that you're putting out never matching your pay. And I feel like in your early 20s, like when you're fresh into the scene and you're so ambitious, you're fucking like, what's the saying they say? Like you're
wide-eyed.
Yeah, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. Like, I feel like you be trying to, like I said, you could be like, I'll die for this. Like, I'll do anything. So, I feel like with that comes a lot of like allowing it to impact your mental health. So what were some times that you felt like you were under fire in your workplace, and how did those affect you in your early career versus now?
Yeah, so I'll say...
and, sorry, another part that I'm going to ask you that I don't want to forget. Do you think, or how do you think those have prepared you for your greater path of, you know, entrepreneurship? But start with the first one.
Yeah, I'll say whenever I got my corporate America job back here in Pittsburgh, and I moved back here, it was with a bigger company. And I learned a very valuable lesson in, you know, staying in your lane. That's kind of what my main focus is.
That is a key. That is a key to surviving corporate America. That's a fact.
And where I ran into the issue that was, whenever I got to this company, I was, you know, my motto was, I'm a team player. Whatever the team needs me to do for us to push our initiative, you know, just let me know. So that means if I came in and I had these roles as part of my job description, if we're short-staffed and we need somebody over here to do this, I'm willing to do that to make sure our team is moving forward. And I did that a lot whenever I first got to that company. And a situation happened where we were so short-staffed that the stuff that I was doing over here needed my attention just as much as my regular job description. And I was creating good value over here, but for some reason, my manager that asked me to do that stuff over here kind of questioned me about my actual job description during one of our manager one-on-one meetings. And I'm like, you know, you had me over here, you know you had me over here. It's not like I'm doing this off the record. Like, you were asking me to be over here this amount of time, which isn't allowing me to be over here, so I'm not getting the reps over here.
Right. And
that turned into that being my fault because I'm not focusing on what my job description is.
So say you're not prioritizing.
Exactly. And then the person that I was working on my regular day-to-day with, they were like the team leader in that area, and they started kind of going behind my back and bad-mouthing me to my manager. So
it's corporate America.
So whenever I would have that meeting with my manager, I would be hearing stuff that she was saying for the first time from my manager. And
I was gonna say, I bet she didn't say it to you.
Exactly, she never did. And it was a lot of like combative meetings with my manager, because, you know, one thing about me is that if I feel like I'm not in the wrong, I'm gonna state my point, and I'm gonna discuss my point. And I'm not backing down to nobody, especially when I don't think I'm in the wrong. So it was a lot of those type of conversations, and my manager said something to me one meeting I had with her that really opened my eyes to things. She, you know, and because, you know, I never been at a company this big as a full-time employee, I didn't really know this type of, you know, dialogue. But she asked me, you know, she was like, hey, is there something else you want to do at the bank? You know, is there anything that interests you at the bank? And me personally, whenever I heard that, I looked at that as you're trying to push me out.
Right.
And I took offense to that.
And she probably didn't want to outright, like they probably were walking on eggshells because they know that your hire came from up top. So they ain't gonna fire you.
So whenever she asked me that, I took offense to that. And what I started doing was, you know, I didn't let that situation get any further. That same day after that meeting, I started filling out applications to certain positions internally. And they were aware of that because they get notifications of that. And I did something that, you know, also stuck with me for a while. And that's whenever you're in corporate America, whenever you have a feeling, whenever you have a nudge about something, go with that.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you know, once you kind of put yourself in a position where you have no leverage, you have no you know, wiggle room, and you're allowing the higher ups to kind of make the decision for you, you're always going to get the short end of the stick. So what I did was I started filling out applications internally, not telling them how the progress of that went, but they knew that they were happening because they would get notifications. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, again, you know, I think another situation that was really impactful for me was through doing all of those, I ended up getting, you know, 3 offers internally to move within the company. The one offer that I took is where I'm at right now, but what happened was at this company I'm at, we get yearly bonuses and pay increases. And whenever I was looking, I ended up getting offered from my new position, which was a $9,000 annual increase in my salary on top of the 3% that I got for my current position, on top of the bonus that I got for my current position.
Damn, you was feeling like how you was feeling in Jamaica.
Exactly. So once that happened, I got that offer. I accepted that offer, and it really caught my team by surprise. You know, they felt like I kind of slipped out the back door with what they called it.
But it's like, you literally told me to do this.
Yeah,
you literally planted the seed. Like
exactly. And even whenever they said that, I really didn't have any remorse about it, because I'm like, you know, you all gave me an unfair shake at, you know, even stating my piece in that whole situation, and then, you know, you kind of passive aggressively, you know, suggested me out.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not about to wait for nobody. I'm gonna go do what I gotta do, and, you know, because I'm taking action, because I'm not letting people do to me, and instead I'm doing.
Right.
I was able to be in a situation where I got a new position internally that pays more, and I still got my pay raise for my current position and the bonus for my current position, plus the pay increase. So now I'm getting everything I wanted, and it was a promotion in terms of, you know, title wise.
Right.
So I was like, you know, this is perfect. And now that same person that, you know, was talking behind my back to my manager, I now have the same title as them, making the same amount as them.
Oh, she was probably sick.
In a whole nother department. And, you know, those 2 lessons of, you know, 1, staying in your own lane, and 2, you know, going with your gut feeling in corporate America, those 2 things, you know, proved to be right in my situation. Mm-hmm. And there's something that I take, you know, now with me through my corporate America experience now, but even through life, where you know, I don't, you know, outside of corporate America, anything I want, I know I got to take action on it.
Right.
You know, God is going to have, you know,
the support for you.
and He's going to know, you know, what's best for you, and what's going to happen within your life. But, you know, I'm always a person that believes, you know, God rewards the intentional, the people that
They
are
help themselves.
Yeah, the people that are going out there and putting in the work.
Right.
And he blesses those people with what they want, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And that's something that I always take with me is if there's anything you want in life, be actionable about it, do what you got to do. And then also whenever you get that nudge that this environment isn't right, it's not conducive to your growth, don't sit around until it's unbearable or now it got so bad that it's now a whole big thing and now you have no choice but to leave. So start to plan your escape early so that you're not the person that they're getting the last laugh at.
Right. That's actually, I feel like you're speaking to my spirit right now because, we talk about all the time about my situation and how I'm also, realizing that, I want to be a full-time creative. Well, not that I'm just realizing that, I've known that, but, I'm kind of in a place where I'm trying to make that a reality. And it's like, kind of like my corporate America job is getting to a point where it's not even, it is a combination of, I've been there for a while, so it's a combination of, grievances piling up over the years. But more than anything, I think the thing that's making me so unbearably unhappy and miserable is really mainly the fact that I know what I want to do and I want to leave, and it's like my dream is right here, but I don't feel comfortable to make that leap yet, which I know it's never going to be comfortable to make the leap, but I have to be in a position where I'm a little more comfortable to so I don't set myself up for failure, essentially. But it's definitely getting to that point where it's like, all right, I just have to go, there's no other choice, it's just, I gotta go. Okay, so getting back to kind of the beginning of the question. So you've been under fire, obviously, at your current position, but in your first position, did you experience a lot of anxiety with that job with so much being on your shoulders?
The only time I started really experiencing stress was whenever I knew it was time to move around and figure out where my next path was going to be at career-wise.
Right.
That's whenever I think that anxiety started to hit because I already knew what the job market was going to look like because I just came out of it. I started to fall on my connections a little bit more because the first time around I really didn't until it was kind of just brought to me.
Right.
So I started leaning on my connections, and that ended up being the right move. But that was probably really the only time I really had any stress within that first job was whenever I knew I kind of overstayed my welcome there, and it was time to move on.
And you feel like that position has allowed you to now do you feel like you've grown to a point in your professional career where you are so used to you understand the corporate America game so well that you don't really allow yourself to get stressed about it?
Yeah, well, there's still stressful times still in corporate America. I think now my outlook allows me to get through those easier. So whenever I close my laptop computer, whatever stress was going on in that job, once I close my laptop computer, it stays there.
Right.
That's why I gotta open up that computer again.
Right.
And that was something I had a hard time doing before.
Right. That's something I had to learn too.
But through experience, through getting to the other side so many times through other stressful situations, I learned that the work is always going to get done.
Right.
It's always going to be on time.
Right.
It's always going to be delivered.
Right.
And you're going to walk away from this and move on to the next thing.
Right.
And once I felt like I got to a point where I understood that, the stress of corporate America stopped being that. And also, I think what's very important too, which I want to bring up is there were times in my life where, because this corporate America job wasn't always my only job. Mm-hmm. There's times where I had other jobs. Right. I mean, I still have multiple jobs now.
Right, but they were actual not actual jobs, but they weren't your own businesses.
Yeah, but still even having that additional source of income. And there were times whenever I had that additional source of income, given what I was making at my corporate America job, that allowed me to experience a influx of cash on a monthly basis. And one thing I made sure I did was I didn't frivolously spend that money. I took care of that money. I fostered that money. I made sure that, I put myself in a position where that money that I was bringing in at that time is going to take care of me later on down the line. And that's through properly managing your money, properly budgeting your money, and being intentional about what you spend your money on. And because at those certain times in my life where the money was coming in, where I was able to save money, now I'm here at a point where, I'm able to show, hey, during these points in my life, I took care of my money because of where I'm at now. Right. And that takes a lot of stress off corporate America because I have money saved up. Right. I have money invested in certain places. I have money. I have different things going on now where I'm bringing in money from different areas, and I'm more so in a position of developing those things to a point where they're operating at a high level. Right. But where I'm at now, because I took care of my money, it's a lot less stress, and I'm not in survival mode. Right. Exactly. So I'm able to continue that clear, healthy thinking in terms of what I want my next chapter in my life is going to be, how I want to see my next 5 years, what I'm doing now to make sure the things I do from a day-in and day-out basis is taken care of and I'm moving effectively. So, taking care of my money and allowing, the things that I've done years ago to take care of me now to where I'm more comfortable, I think that's a very important aspect of why, my corporate America experience right now is a lot less stressful. Right.
So, I was also going to ask you about times in your life where you felt stuck or you faced adversity. And I think that you already kind of touched on it. I feel like that time when you were in Ohio was a really trying time for you. Mm-hmm. So now that you're we'll get to how you are now, how you're working on your businesses, etc. But so this adversity you faced, would you say that there was a point in time where you what was the switch for you to really be I want to get out of corporate America? Was there a moment?
I think I always wanted to be an entrepreneur from whenever I was younger. I think there wasn't never really a point that switched me to that. I think that was always the end goal for me. It was more so about how am I going to get my foot in the door to either learn the information I need to or actually, put myself in those rooms to, know what I got to do to move into that entrepreneurial space. Right. So I think it was just really that. It wasn't really a moment in time that made me want to, get out of corporate America because, I always take corporate America for what it is. It's supposed to give you that stability, that comfort. Mm-hmm. But if you want, the life that, you dream about or the life that you truly desire, in most situations in corporate America, that's not going to provide you with that. Right. Unless you're like a CEO, which, that's a possibility.
I feel like that's a path that you're destined on from college though. Yeah. A lot of people who go to Harvard Business School or Carnegie Business School, the Carnegie Mellon Business School, I should say, they're literally bred okay, this is my path, because being a CEO is a very specific, that's a very specific set of skills because as a CEO you have obviously major influence over your business, but you're not involved in the day-to-day. You're looking at everything on a macro level. Exactly. And I feel like some people are just bred to guide companies. So I would say too that yes, we're this whole conversation is about fuck corporate America, but as much as we hate this system, this is our reality, and there is a way to use the system to your benefit.
Yeah, I was about to say there is good parts about corporate America. It's all about outlooks and what you take it for. If you look at corporate America as a way to provide some stability to your life financially, and then also get to a point where the freedom that it provides you financially, you're able to put that towards something that you're passionate about. Like, that's always the goal. You know, you never want to be somewhere you hate and you don't got no backup plans, you don't got no passion projects, you don't got any other streams of income.
Right.
Because, you know, that's when you start to feel trapped. So, you know, there are good things about corporate America.
Yeah, I would say via the financial stability one, that can allow you to, you know, put yourself in a position to win in other areas in your life. And then on top of that, depending on what industry you're in and what your passion projects are, like networking.
Yeah.
Like for me, like my day job doesn't really translate to, I mean, I guess it could in a very abstract way, but like in general, it doesn't really translate to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But for somebody like you, like your businesses, which I keep saying we'll get to, the businesses that you're starting and you're involved in, they're all financially focused. So it, like even the networking that you've been able to do in your day job is going to help you in those areas. So, what was I going to say? I wish my phone would stop blocking. Okay. So, has there been a time, and for me the answer is definitely yes, multiple times. Has there been times in your professional career that have made you want to like take the fire escape or like impulse quit, just be like this, like I'm just getting out? Or you were ready in that moment to risk it all and be like, man, fuck this, like I'm about to just dip?
There's definitely been some tense situations personally at the job.
Where you almost pressed the red button?
I don't think I ever got that far to press the red button.
Cause I be ready to, I'm literally like the red button's here. I'm like here, like
yeah. I got a couple texts from you.
Yeah, facts.
About that red button. Yeah.
But I'm also like a dreamer. I feel like you're more like, you're a dreamer, but you're more like logistical.
Yeah. So I think that's why I never got to like the red button fire escape point, because I was always like, okay, if I ever were to get to that point, I need my life outside of this to look a certain way. Yeah, so I think, you know, because I kind of think very practically, it's never at a point where like I'm actually at that point to push the red button. But, you know, if I were to do that, it has to be, you know, my life outside of the job has to look a certain way. And I kind of have it in my mind how I want it to look. So until it gets there, I'm never at that point. But in terms of, you know, the stress behind it, it's not so, there's not a lot of stress so much these days. And they allow me to work from home all the time. So. So that really lowers stress levels too, because I'm in the comfort of my own home. So I'm able to, you know, step away from the computer, kind of be in my own space outside of work whenever I need it during the workday. So yeah,
I'll say that I feel like my next, like if I hopefully, prayerfully, my next position will just be full entrepreneurship. But but if I did take another job, like it's like fully remote is a non-negotiable for me, just because I'm tired of the corporate, like, you know, the fucking song and dance. Oh, how was your weekend? Like we be with each other all the time. You know how my weekends go. Yeah. So we've had some crazy ass weekends together. So to go from that and then on Monday, like, oh, do anything fun? It's like, in my mind, I'm like, bitch, you wouldn't even begin to understand what just transpired over that weekend. So I literally replay the weekend in my head, and then what comes out of my mouth is, no, nothing really. Yeah. But chill, right, but it's like also there's just an identity component to it too, because being like some of the, in corporate America, obviously there's not a lot of diversity, especially with race. Like there's just not a lot of black people, at least in my company. I don't know how it is for yours. So it's like even on a fundamental level, it's like we live two completely separate lives outside of work. We are so different as people. Yeah. So it's like, even if I were to tell you what began to, like, even if I scratch the surface of like what I do in my free time, you would never understand it. Exactly. You would never understand it. And there's always, you know, different exceptions to the scenario. Like I actually have a couple friends at work. Yeah. You don't. Yeah, I don't.
I was about to say, like, you're also way more personable than me at work. Whenever I'm at work, it's strictly business. We got to get done. I might have some like
personal conversations, but I never get deep into my personal life.
Right.
So, and I, to be honest, I really don't care about other people's personal life at work. So,
but also I feel like our shit is different. Like, I work in corporate and it's a large company, but it's like my office is very small.
Yeah.
And like my superiors are very like, they be trying to be getting personal and stuff. And when I started when I was 25, I think, and I'm almost 30 now. So when I started, I still was a little bit bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I was like, thinking that corporate was going to be my life. Like, I wanted to be in a big company so bad. And so, I was very personable. I'm like, and it was like the company was doing great. We were they would have like food trucks come all the time. They would have happy hours and shit. Nothing.
Then that budget got cut.
I was about to say, nothing will open your eyes to how like much of a facade corporate America is. Like your company facing financial issues. When your company goes from being thriving, successful, lush with money, whatever, to laying people off, the veil definitely gets lifted. I think that you see the dark underbelly of corporate America and how it really takes advantage of people. And I think that whenever corporate is in times of positivity, it basically can do a very good job of distracting from that underbelly. They basically like jingle a bunch of like keys in front of your face to distract you and hide you from the real dark shit that's going on.
And you see how disposable people are.
Yeah, absolutely.
To the company, and that really, at least for me, it really changed my perspective of corporate America once I seen how easily disposable people are.
Right.
Once it becomes a numbers game, you really got to start to, show your value with the company, because once it becomes a numbers game, you could be on the other side of that numbers game.
Right.
And they're not going to pull you into the office and ask you, with us laying you off, are you good for the next few months?
No, they don't give a damn.
Are your bills paid up? What's in your bank account? You got enough to get you through, trying to find a job? What's the job hiring process look like? They're not asking you those questions when they lay you off. They're giving you your severance package if you even are blessed enough to be at a company that gives you a severance package. And then they're giving you, what your termination date is, and then you work until that termination date. And that's it. So, once I seen how disposable people are to a company when budget starts to get tightened up, whenever, strategic initiatives change, it makes you realize, like, okay, I gotta really, form a life and identity outside of corporate America so that I can fall into that while I'm working here, but then if push comes to shove, I still have this to fall back on. Right,
exactly. And I think that that's really important. And I think that what you said about forming identity outside of a workplace, I think something that a lot of, like, no offense, but like older people didn't do, probably because like our parents' generation, I feel like is the only generation that really like had a fair shot at the American dream, like before it really got crushed. Like tuition was affordable, houses were affordable, what have you. So I think that with our parents' generation, like I think that they were obviously the last generation to really have a fair shot at the American dream. And I think that because of that, and because like they got into corporate at a time where, or just like working America, even if they're not in corporate, they got into their professional lives at a time where, you realistically could work somewhere for 30, 40 years, retire early.
That was like the goal.
Right, that was the goal, and they saw that happening. And even some people's parents, my parents aren't, but some people's parents are like retired. They're able to retire, which I just don't see as a reality for pretty much anybody that's working in regular corporate America now. But
especially our age, I think.
Our age, that's what I mean, yeah. But I think because of that, a lot of people in our parents' generation didn't develop an identity outside of work, which is also feeds into corporate America's playbook of like blind obedience, because they didn't need to develop an identity outside of work because they were taught to go work, climb the corporate ladder, and they'll be successful, and that worked for them. So it didn't require them to do any deeper thinking of like what their passions are. So, not to say they didn't face the whole like, dreaded like, just the existential dread you think of when you think of working somewhere for 40 years. They might have, but I just think that it might have been, a further thought than them because they weren't. I feel like you really only go through those whenever you're in deep moments of like soul searching. And like, I feel like in today's day and age, people who work corporate America are having a hard time making ends meet just because of the economy
and most situations.
It's situations or wages haven't gone up, inflation, whatever. So because your basic needs aren't met, it's, you know, requiring people to do this like shadow work and like what's important to them. And obviously it's causing some level of depression, which, you know, when you're depressed, you're thinking of a lot of things that have to do with, you know, how you feel. So yeah, I think that corporate America is definitely a trap, but it's like the veil is getting lifted very, very fast because our society doesn't look like what it used to look like.
Yeah, and it's a lot of information out there. You know, I think in the world we live in today, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not taking advantage of the wealth of information that's out there.
Right.
Of course, you know, with there being so much information, there's a lot of misinformation.
Right.
So I think, you know, with properly educating yourself, also surrounding yourself with people that are currently, you know, within that space in real life, can, you know, benefit you. But there's so much information out here that, you know, you need to be able to figure out, you know, what your identity going to be outside of corporate America,
right.
and what you want to do to hopefully, you know, get you to a point where, you know, you're running and operating something that you own. You know,
right.
Ownership is the really only way that you're really going to achieve whatever that American dream is.
Right.
Right. Unless, you know, you feel like having a stable job is the American dream, you know, that's your reality.
Right.
But if you believe that the American dream is, you know, having the things that you desire and doing what you want when you want, you got to own something.
Right.
Because when you own something, you know, you're bringing all of the value to what you own. And when you bring all the value, you know, you're able to bring in more than what you would bring in, you know, working corporate America. And, you know, everything shouldn't be about money. You should know the things that you get into outside of work should be something that you're passionate about.
Right.
But like I tell you all the time, you know, like, you know, the passion behind something's going to run out if, you know, it's taking up more time than what it's bringing to you. You know,
right.
Like at some point you got to be able to monetize off your passion, because, you know, me personally, I feel like that's the American dream, is doing what you're passionate about and not sustaining your life and bringing abundance to your life.
Right.
I think that's like the ultimate American dream, because it's like you can work forever.
Right.
You know?
Right. I think the click, the shift in my brain was unique. I mean, you know, the situation around what was like the epiphany I had of like, oh my God, this isn't like, what the fuck am I doing here? Which I won't get into here. Yeah. But I think that, you know, it clicked in my brain. What really clicked in my brain was like, if you continue trading your time for money, you're never going to be free. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, time is a finite resource. Also, as you know, expend yourself, you are fatiguing yourself. Mm-hmm. So even if you do have time, you might not have like quality time that you can contribute to something.
Yeah. You got to take care of yourself too.
Exactly. So I feel like for me, like, of course I like realized my passions and decided to, you know, pursue a creative life. But I think that, you know, me just realizing like, if I create for the world, one, it's like my art is in the world and that will fulfill me. Mm-hmm. Two, like just on a financial level, like intellectual property, in my opinion, is the most valuable thing ever. Yeah. Like if you make a book or write a song or whatever,
lasts forever,
you make money off of it forever. And for me, obviously, it's not about the money, because if it was about the money, I wouldn't be doing it. I put so much time into shit and I don't get paid for it. But like this magazine, case in point. But obviously I want to see a profit from it sometime, but just so that I can live, like, honestly, I just want to be able to, as long as like my needs are met, that's what I want. And I think that I was just looking at corporate America in the face after I had this like epiphany moment, and I was like, thinking about my future, just the same shit for the next 40 years. And I got so sad and depressed at that, like, prospect that I was like, bro, I literally can't do this. I will literally, like, I won't survive. Like, I won't even make it to that. And then on top of that, it's like, you work your whole life for retirement. And then whenever you retire, your retirement age is what, like 65? Average life expectancy is like 72.
Yeah.
So, and granted, a lot of people live past that, but, like, it's just like, I don't want to wait until I'm 65 to have the ability to live my life how I want to live it.
Exactly.
So that's another thing. It's like, even when you're an entrepreneur, obviously, like, people think that, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and to work less. First of all, if that's your thought,
never going to work less.
You're going to work more, but it's like, it does.
It's more fulfilling.
It's more fulfilling. I hate to sound cliche, but it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly.
So it's like, I probably, with my creative stuff, like, I couldn't even tell you how many hours I work a week because I really just do it in all of my free time.
Yeah, my side stuff, I work 7 days a week.
Right. Yeah, same, exactly.
Every day, you know, I always say every day some form of work has to get done.
Right.
In some aspect, even if it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you know, I have to do something that adds to the mission, I guess you could say. So, you know, once you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't slow down. It gets more time consuming, depending on what you're, you know, starting. It's more on the line if you're putting a lot of money up.
Right.
You know, so it's a lot more high pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stuff is realities of you know, moving into that space where you're trying to own something and you're trying to start something, but like you said, it doesn't feel like work because it's something that you're passionate about.
Right.
And then, you know, the main thing I think is consistency. You know, me personally, I think it's scientifically proven that if you're consistent at something and you do something repetitively and you work at it, you're going to win at some point.
Right.
When you win, that's different for everybody, but
Right.
you're going to win at some point. And a lot of times, when it comes to things, it's really about the last man standing, the last woman or man standing. And, you know, on the journey, because people are going to fall off of the journey because of family stuff, because
Right.
of confidence, because of financial reasons.
Right.
But the last person standing, the last person that gets through all of that is the one that wins.
Right.
And it's like, you know, you could be one of them people that fall off and never, you know, get to the finish line for your dreams, or you could be the one that gets to the end and now you're reaping the benefits, whether that's a year from now or whenever you're 40, you know.
Right.
Once you get to the finish line and win, it don't feel like you was waiting that long.
Right.
So it's like kinda,
Exactly.
you know, just being consistent and just getting to that point.
That's a good point. I think something I think about a lot, which whenever I was first in my time of like entertaining the idea of leaving corporate America, because for me, my fire escape is a creative, you know, career. And I honestly looked at it a lot as like, bro, it's literally this or nothing. Like, this is my plan B, I guess, or it's not even plan B. Like, my creative passions are like my plan A, because it's literally like, I look at it as like all or nothing. It's like either a life that I actually am like happy in, or just a lifetime of misery.
Yeah,
like,
and with you being so creative, it's like your plan B is a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Because like you could do so many things from a creative standpoint that, you know, if, you know, having art shows and selling your physical art isn't something that's, you know, prospering or getting the momentum that you want, you can still take it a different way creatively.
Right,
where you're still using your creative gifts, but in a different medium.
Right.
So it's like, you know, in your situation, you know, this has so many different, you know, extensions that it can go that, you know, this is kind of like like I always tell you, like this is really like a God's gift to be able to be so creatively gifted, and then also, you know, with that creative gift, have the luxury of taking it so many different ways to where like you can always be creative and just, you know, just play with different ideas to see what works, and, you know, and then once something works, you know, just exploit it.
It works, right, exactly. Yeah, I think, for a long time, I wasn't even, my eyes weren't even open to an alternative path. It was just corporate blindness, and like you said, the stability that it offers you or that it gives you. So another thing that I that kind of helped me whenever I came to this epiphany point of like, this is what I want to do, is I was seeing just a lot of really just encouragement on, honestly, on social media. I started changing what I like consume, but like how you said, like, you're going to win at some point, whether it's now or 20 years from now. One thing I saw was something that kind of like changed my mind frame was like, most of the people that do shit, like, there might be somebody out there who's like mediocre, but they just have the audacity to do it. You might be more talented or better than somebody, but
we talked about a few people that fit that mold.
Right. But you might be more talented or you know, smarter or better at something than somebody, but they're doing it. So, you know, something that I see a lot, like a statement that I see a lot is like, just do it, make it exist first and make it good later. Like, you can make it good later. Because like I said, half the time, you know, there's things that it's just the audacity. People just have the audacity to do shit. And that's the only thing that separates you and them from them being somebody who is of this identity and you not, you know. And I've really experienced that in I know that to be true because I experienced it in my art. Like, a year ago, I wasn't posting my art. Nobody saw me as an artist.
Had a private page.
Right, private page. Now I'll have people who I haven't talked to in literally since high school, and I'll see them out, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I love your art. Like, I mean, I'm about to do this. I need you to." I'm like, dude, like, it's just so crazy. Like, walking into a new identity, and it's the same thing for you, I'm sure. Like, with your businesses, like, you know, people see you posting and they're like, "Oh yeah, I need to talk to you about IUL or whatever." But before we get into that real quick, another thing that was a statement that's helped me a lot in the past is, I think something that held me back was thinking of how long the journey might be. And like, damn, I'm gonna be so old whenever if I finally do pop or whatever, or like just having that desire to like really just blow or like get to your goal like immediately. And you realize that obviously overnight success isn't real, but whenever it does look like an overnight success, there's years of work behind that, and it just came to a boiling point. And then like the climax is very quick, but there's work behind it. There's no such thing as overnight success. And two, you know, the saying like, the time will pass anyway. Like, it might take me so long to get there. I'm gonna be so old. You'll be the same age as you'll be if you don't do it. So it's like, you might as well just do it.
And the champagne tastes the same.
Exactly. You just dropped it. All right, that was hard.
When the champagne tastes the same, so it's like.
Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was tough. That was tough. I might need to steal that.
Yeah. The champagne tastes the same. You know, like, when you get to that finish line, that win is going to feel the same as if it happened 20 years ago.
That's
and it's like I said before, it's not going to feel like you waited so long. It's going to feel like it was perfect timing because, you know, God knows whenever you're ready for, you know, what He has at the other end for you.
Right.
You know, it's all about your development and how you get to that point. But He knows whenever you're ready for it and you're ready to take it on.
That's a fact.
And if He feels like, you know, you might need to learn a lesson, a valuable lesson in it, you know, He'll give it to you, you know, before you're really ready for it. And he'll have you kind of find your way through trials and tribulations of trying to you know, not obtain it, but maintain it whenever you have it. So
yeah, that's a fact. That's actually a really good point because I try to think about that a lot whenever I think about like my timeline leaving corporate America and like how I'm so ready to just be able to fully jump into my creative journey. But it's like, I know that, you know, you're not going to be set up to fail. So, you know, unless you need to learn a lesson, like you said. So I feel like, you know, it might feel like a waiting game or whatever, but what it is like, God just wants to make it make sense whenever He finally gives you what you're asking for. Because you could be asked for something that you could get tomorrow and you will not know what to do with it.
Exactly.
So, you know, I feel like it takes that so much time to get up to that point so that whenever you do get those opportunities, you can knock it out the park, and then you can just further realize your mission and your path.
And really, you know, I feel like you learn the most through the journey again to where you need to get to. You know, it's a lot of character building. It's a lot of realism that is baked into your psyche. You know, at the beginning of the journey, you just think you know, it's going to happen so fast. But once you see the trials and tribulations that come with it, the delays in the process, so to speak, you know, it develops your character, and it allows you to, like, you know, take a step back and really enjoy the process, because, you know, the process to me is like where I'm at right now. The process is the fun part. Yeah. Learning and mastering my craft is the fun part. Because once you get it, it's like, you know, it's game time now. Once you get it, it's game time. It's time to do what you're supposed to do with it, and scale it, and refine it and perfect it. That's the game time. This right now is, you know, the exhibition, the practice time, the building time, where, you know, you're during this moment, whenever you don't have it, you're supposed to be educating yourself. You're supposed to be, you know, consistent, getting your reps in, you know, going through the ups and downs, the tough times where you got to learn. This is the time to do it. So once you get it, it looks like you had it for decades, and you're able to just make it look perfect. Right.
I think there's 2 points in that. One, whenever you're building towards it, whenever you're trying to, like for us, building towards our exit of corporate, it's like you almost have to. I've said before, I feel like God makes it so uncomfortable. Well, I think it's twofold. One, I think that, you know, you really gotta, I hate to be you have to go through trials and tribulations to get something, because I don't believe that you should have to suffer in order to succeed.
Yeah, I don't believe that either.
But I do think that, like you said, it's character building, and it's like, you really gotta just prove that you want it, and prove that you're gonna, like, actually commit to it, and not be like, okay, I'm interested in this now, but maybe I won't be later. Yeah. And I've had a history of that in my life with different, I think I want to do this, and then I was disinterested in it. This is one of the first things that I've really, like, maintained, like, a solid, like, vision towards. So, yeah, I think you have to show that you're dedicated towards whatever you're trying to get to. And also, I think, at least in my life, it's like, I feel like God is teaching me a lesson in, like, just being ready to take a jump whenever I don't feel, might not feel comfortable yet. Like, I think he's kind of testing my, like
resolve.
Yeah, like how much I'm, like, really gonna, like, be ready to just go for it when he calls me to go for it, you know, which go for it meaning, like, actually taking the step to leave corporate, quit my job, and make this my full-time job. Yeah. So I think that I'm at a point now where he's making it so uncomfortable for me that it's going to get to a point where, like, I feel like, in some ways, I feel like God is like, it's time. Like, you gotta just go. Now that doesn't necessarily make logistical sense to me because I'm not in a place where I would feel comfortable doing that yet financially, which is different for everybody. But I think, I literally think God is like, well, you don't want to listen to me? All right, I'm just gonna make it hella uncomfortable for you. And I'm gonna make you get to a point where you literally will have no other choice.
Yeah, he'll do that. And, you know, I feel like he always sends you signs. Right. Of, you know, what your next move is. Right. You know, if you're gonna follow him, great. You'll be able to, you know, navigate swiftly, I guess. But if it takes you a while to realize that, and you're a little hard-headed, I guess, you know, he'll have a way of kind of, you know, making that decision your only decision. Right. That's a fact. And you know, I've seen that in my life too, where, you know, there were certain things I was hard-headed about, and I felt like God gave me signs leading up, but then, you know, whenever he felt like, okay, you're clearly not listening, he would drop a big sign. Right. And it would be something that would either make me wake up and, you know, move accordingly, or it would be something where, you know, I still don't learn, and it will take something even bigger to happen for me to understand what he was trying to say. So I do agree with that. Yeah. Another thing is, I think that how we were talking about, like, he's building you towards, like, your, like, climax moment. Like, I think that it's intentional, one. Because, one, you have to be able to not only handle the situation whenever it comes to you, but also once you get on, like, once you're on, it's going to be 10 million other things. You don't have to just be able to handle that situation.
you need to be able to handle a bunch of new opportunities to you. So I think it's a very, it's a weird journey. But at the end of the day,
you found out a lot about yourself.
Yes. So with that being said, what is your exit plan or your exit strategy?
Yeah, so I have a few. I think the main topic of this was entrepreneurship. That's something I'm very passionate about, just like you. So right now I have my own financial service company where I help individuals grow and protect their money through tax-free solutions that these financial service companies offer, like IUL solutions, annuities. I also help people with personal financing, budgeting. I do credit repair consultations, and I also do debt consolidation consultations as well too. So I really just have a full financial conversation with my clients, and then from there, from the products that I'm able to help them get into, show them how those products can help them achieve their financial goals. But before we get to that, it's more so about one, educating them on what's out there, different financial strategies that are out there, and then finding out what their current situation is. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's goals are different financially. So understanding the person and then helping them get into those solutions that best align them to their goals. And that's something I've been doing for a few years now. But I was always doing it as just like a I don't want to say charity, but more so just like something I do for my people, because finance is something that I'm passionate about. So that was always my identity to my network of people, and they would always come to me, whether it's family, friends, close associates. They will come to me for that advice. But last year I actually went and got licensed in the state of PA, and then other states where I have clients at, so that I can actually put action behind some of the things that I was telling them about, and get them into, well, one, show them some of those financial solutions, but then also get them into those financial solutions so that they can, start the path of, achieving their financial goals. So that's one of the things I'm doing. Also, in the background while I've been doing all of this stuff, I have some real estate mentors that, have been there since I've grown up, and they've been in the real estate business for some time now, and they have showed me the ropes for some real estate strategies like wholesaling, fix and flips, rent to own strategies in order to acquire property, stuff like that. And they've been mentoring me for probably like 5-6 years. This is something that I dived into a lot whenever I got out of college. Mm-hmm. And I did some wholesaling here and there, but getting my real estate company up and running, moving into investing in real estate, owning property, either fixing and flipping or renting it out, and being a landlord. Those things, Airbnbs as well. That's something that is in the near future that I'm currently working on in the background, that I feel like I've been working on for years, but I think it's starting to become more of a reality as the months go by. Right. And then I'm also working on a startup right now as well too, that I can't really give too much information about because we're in the paperwork process and getting in compliance with the state right now. So I can't speak too much about that, but that's something that is very much it's a passion. It's really a passion project for me. It's in the neighborhood that I grew up in, and it's something that provides a good service to the community that I grew up in, and just to overall society. So that's something that I also do in my spare time that I really put in a lot of effort and energy behind. But those type of things are my escape route, and I think it's important to note that these are things that have been catered to and worked out for years. These are things that I got a bright idea and I wanted to do. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is that they have a bunch of bright ideas that they never put any time into.
Right, that's
And
right.
and whenever it's like that, all you're ever going to be is in a cycle of bright ideas with no action, and you're just going to be in the same place.
Right.
So,
And then you see people who did it and like, damn, I had that idea. They stole my idea. But it's like I said before, it's all about somebody might be doing something that you could be doing better, but they're just the audacity to do it is what makes them that.
Exactly. So it's important to understand that these are things that have been worked on for years. These are things that have been in the works for years, and it's never going to be an overnight success. It's never going to be something that happens like that. And even if it is something that happens like that, you're one of a billion that happened to.
Right.
So if you want to play the numbers game, more times than not, you're not going to be that person. So you're going to have to find something or find some things and work at those things every day, whenever you don't feel like it, whenever you're not in the mood, whenever you're not in the right mental space, whenever, it feels like everything around you is on fire, you still got to make it a priority to get up and go do those things, because consistency wins, and consistency beats talent. Consistency beats, connections to a certain extent. Consistency beats out many things, and you're never going to get to a point where, you're kind of tasting the champagne until you show that consistency over and over again.
So what is your timeline for you taking the fire escape out of corporate America?
I used to have timelines for this stuff. As I got older, I realized that, you setting timelines for yourself is you trying to unrealistically set the future, in terms of my plan and my strategy. My plan and my strategy is my plan and my strategy. Mm-hmm. But for a time frame, I stopped looking at time frames. I'm looking at it more so now from a standpoint of, this is what I want to do. I got to make sure every day I'm working at it. I got to make sure every day I'm showing up for it. I got to make sure I'm working hard at it. And the time will tell.
Right.
I can't dictate God's time, and I can't dictate perfect alignment. I can't dictate that stuff. And the more I realized whenever I used to set timelines, I would just be stressing myself out for timelines that I just have no control over. And I'm trying to focus more, personally in my life, and letting the uncontrollables be the uncontrollables.
Right.
And mastering the things that I can't control, so that I'm putting myself in the best position to be where I want to be.
That's good. I think that's something that I've realized too. I think in the past, whenever I was following things for the wrong reasons that I thought might be my passion, like in my timeline where I was trying to still figure out my passions, like my mid-20s-ish, when the veil started lifting of corporate America and me realizing that that's not where I want to be, I think I was like, okay, I have this idea. Oh, if I do this and I work really hard, I should be able to take this to the level I want it to be at by this year. And I feel like what you realize whenever you're actually chasing stuff that like you're passionate about, or when you're walking in your purpose, is that those timelines kind of do fall away. Yeah. Because it's like, that's like for me, like with my creative practice, I feel like I don't think of like when. The only thing that I think about like when is like when I'll be able to leave corporate America. But even that, I'm like, I don't think of it like, oh, I can leave at this time, I can leave at this time. It's more of like a feeling that I just have this burning feeling to go. But as far as like time, like I don't have it in my mind, like I want to exhibit here by this year. And I'm just like literally doing building blocks, and I set goals at the end of each year. So I think that's a good answer. Like your timeline basically is no timeline. It's just, you're just working towards your passion every day.
Exactly.
What does success look like for you professionally and personally?
That's a good question. Professionally, success for me looks like me owning my time, and while owning my time, bringing in an income that allows me to enjoy life. I don't want to master my time, but I can't do nothing with my time because I'm not bringing in money to do that. So I want to be able to master my time, but while I'm mastering my time, be able to enjoy life, because life is beautiful whenever you have the ability to enjoy it. Right. And a lot of that comes with time, and I want to get to a point where I'm able to do that. So that's my main goal. Whenever I was younger, my goal used to be to get rich. I think at 30 years old, I realized rich is more so a mindset thing. It's not really a dollar amount, you know. And I think rich for me is owning my time while still bringing in money. Like that's wealthy. That's wealthy for me. That's something that if I'm able to achieve that, then I think I'm able to wake up every day I'm proud of myself now, but I'm able to wake up every day and say, all that stuff you did for the last 20 years
was worth it.
Was worth it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I that's probably been one of the biggest things for me with me wanting to leave corporate America. Like, I'm tired of living my life on somebody else's terms. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. But like, obviously not to the detriment of my business. But exactly. I don't say that in a way that's like irresponsible. Yeah. I say it in a way like I don't want to just be able to club, or not that clubbing and partying is irresponsible. I mean, to an extent, but you get what I'm saying, right? But I'm saying like I want to be able to. Okay, I want to dedicate this day to this project I'm working on. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to do that and not think, damn, but I got to work today. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So. And
I think personally, success for me personally. That kind of takes different shapes, because, you know, I want to have a family and stuff like that, you know, so, you know, being able to do that and that dynamic is healthy. That's definitely success for me. But I think, you know, the fact that I don't have that, like I don't have a family that I'm starting right now, so I think in this current state, you know, success personally for me is, you know, continuing to show up for myself every day, you know, taking care of my body, taking care of, you know, my skin, taking care of my health, doing things that are, you know, benefiting me and, you know, adding to my life. Mm-hmm. You know, I think I want to continue to do that because that plays a part in everything. You know, everything is interconnected. You know, when you're taking care of yourself, you feel better. When you feel better, you're thinking better. When you're thinking better, you're performing better. When you're performing better, you're getting paid better. Exactly. And everything falls in line. So I think for me personally, is just continuing to keep, you know, this network of people around me that I care deeply about, that, you know, add so much to my life, take so much stress out of my life, and just add so much purity to my life. Keep those people around me and, you know, just continue to show up for myself. You know, if I continue to do that, these other things will be easier to fall in line because I'm operating from a healthier space. I'm not in a depressive state. I'm not in a man at the world state. I'm not in a survival state. I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with the people around me.
Right. That's a beautiful answer. What advice would you give anybody who might be looking to take the FiRE escape out of corporate America?
My advice would be that planning is an everyday thing. Mm-hmm. It's an everyday thing. And there's going to be days where that FiRE escape plan doesn't look too promising. There's going to be days where you're not too confident in it. But that's part of it. That's part of the process. That's part of getting to where you need to get to. Discouragement, shattered ego, shattered confidence, all of that's part of it. So
self-doubt is crazy.
Yeah, understanding that all of that's going to come with the process, but also understanding that, you know, it's an everyday thing. So if this is something that you're truly passionate about, you got to be able to do it when times are good, when times are bad, when you don't think it's necessary, when you think it's necessary. Right. And you got to do it every day. And I mean, and the most important thing I think is educating yourself. You know, there's too much information out here for you to go uneducated. Mm-hmm. I think when you do that, you're doing a disservice to yourself. You're wasting your time. You know, this isn't the 60s where you got to be in a certain circle to get certain information. Information's at the tip of your fingers. And verifying that information is correct is at the tip of your fingers. It just takes a little bit of work. Right. So doing the work every day and educating yourself every day, that's probably my biggest advice. And don't be lazy. Like, don't be lazy. You know, like, if you want to be lazy, stay in your, you know, your current situation.
If you're going to be lazy, it might not be your passion.
Exactly. And, you know, if you're lazy, you know, you're going to get to a point where you're going to burn out. Because like we said earlier, doing this and doing that escape plan where now you're your own operating entity, that comes with more work. You know,
Right.
what you bring in every month is going to be dependent on what you do 7 days a week. So that's going to be key, is, you know, actually putting in that work and showing up every day for yourself. So that's probably my biggest advice.
Right. So now, I have the secret question,
The secret question.
which is,
The secret question.
are you ready?
As ready as I'm going to be.
What would you say to child DJ?
Wow. What would I say to child DJ?
And you gotta look at him while you talk to him.
Child DJ.
I might get a tear out of here.
Nah. Child DJ. I would say, you know, that inner belief that you have in yourself, you know, keep it. You know, at that point in time, you know, there was a confidence there that, you know, I never really thought anything about. But growing up and where I'm at now, I, you know, noticed those certain aspects of my life. And, you know, just getting older, you know, there's a lot of things that change your perspective, shoot down your confidence, kill your confidence. And I'm proud that through all of the stuff that person went through to get to here, that, you know, even though there was times where his confidence was shaken, it didn't really, it didn't go anywhere. You know, it remained intact. And even if he had to go back and put the pieces back together and rebuild himself, he was able to do that. So
Talk to him,
so
not me.
So if I, you know, baby DJ, just, you know, keep doing what you're doing. You know, you got a good foundation, a good home, people that, you know, aren't steering you wrong. So continue listening to them, and, you know, continue to have that, you know, that independent mindset, to where you don't go with the crowd, you don't do what other people are doing. You know, I know at this age everybody's real pure, but, you know, soon after, you know, people start to go their own routes life-wise, and, you know, some of them are paying the consequences. Some are paying grave consequences for that now, and good job, you know, remaining independent and, you know, having your own voice and own mind.
Period.
Good job.
And Paul Wall is going to be your favorite rapper soon.
Yeah, I think he was. I think
For most of your childhood.
Yeah, I know 50 Cent, and I think 50 Cent and Lil Wayne were slowly being my favorite rappers at this time. Paul Wall was similar.
This young? That's crazy.
I just can't remember what grade that was. I can't remember what grade that was, but if it was over first grade, yeah. Yeah, they were heavy rotation.
That's crazy. First grade is crazy for that.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, that was over coffee.
Nice.
I thank you, my dogs,
Of course,
for
thank
the
you for having me.
conversation,
Thank you for having me.
and putting on display this conversation that we have every day regardless.
Yes,
So-
word, it's a conversation we have all the time. So
Right,
just
so,
gotta look in front of a camera.
Right, so I think you dropped some gems, and I'm excited for people to hear your story.
Nice, thank you. Thank you.
So that was over coffee with DJ.
Thank you.
Woo!
Champagne tastes the same. Champagne tastes the same.